About 2 weeks ago, I started playing on the Epic Store instead of on Steam. And obviously, I wasn't going to regrind everything all over again, so I combined accounts. I used the cross progression thing and added my DVD account, linked my Steam account to my Epic account. Couple things that seem to have happened. I actually linked it back in January, at the beginning of January. It's the end of December, beginning of January. Couple things that happened is it seemed as though it was easier for people to get into my games. We ended up with a lot more cheater games on Steam. About 2 weeks into January, as I mentioned about 2 weeks ago, I started playing on Epic purely instead of on Steam. This is after I merged my accounts. An initial impression was when I was playing on Epic, it seemed like there's a lot less cheaters, even though we're playing with the same people. It does not influence your MMR. It does not influence who you get paired with. And a couple different things were happening here. But first off, the initial impression is people won't stay to try and trash talk you because they think you're a globe, and as such, they think that you can't be talked with. In games that were sketchy, so in which games that we thought people were cheating in, we also had people that would try to engage me in the endgame lobby. That was pretty rare, though. So my guess is even if they know you have a globe, chances are they'll think that you are counsel. Or they're playing with friends in which they won't stick around to trash talk, so then they don't stick around to trash talk. And you only have like one person out of like a pre-made that will actually stick around to trash talk. It's usually a sketchy player too. So what that means is people generally play with their friends. Obviously, when they're playing in a Swift, and not everyone in a Swift cheats. Most of the time, we won't run into a full cheater Swift. And oftentimes, we'll also run into a Swift with cheaters in it that won't obviously cheat in front of their friends. They won't do stuff that will be really sus that would get them accused. But as things went along, it was actually pretty interesting because when we played against people, there were people that would do spin moves in front of me, like they thought I'm a council player. Like they would, as disproportionately compared to Steam, when I was playing on Steam, we'd have people that would literally try to do spin moves in front of me. This ended towards the end of our experiment here, at the end of the 2-week time period, which I will get to. But when we initially started out playing on the Epic Store, it definitely seemed like people seemed to know that I was a globe, and as such were treating me as a globe, as if I was counsel. It's a common misconception good evening, Sanjo. It's a common misconception in the community that if you have a globe, you are counsel, when in fact, globe just means that you're not on the same platform as them. Yeah, and a lot of people don't know that. They just assume that globe means counsel if you're on PC, and it's not. It just means different distribution platform. That's it. So it could be Steam, it could be Epic, it could be Windows, it could be Stadia, it could be PlayStation, and it could be Xbox. And mobile's separate. I'm pretty sure mobile's separate. But all these guys are different from each other. So the only time you'll see non-globes is when they're on the same platform as you. And as it turns out, in my 2 weeks playing, Switch. And as it turns out, in my 2 weeks playing on the Epic Store, I only saw one non-globe. I'm not even joking. We only saw one non-globe in all the 2 weeks I've been played on the Epic Store. Yeah. And that was like 2 nights ago. It was on Saturday, I think. Not even joking. So I've mentioned this before, but I'm pretty sure if people cheat, they can actually just make it look like they have a globe when they don't. That's just it. Or they play on Windows Store. Windows Store has been around a lot longer than Epic has. Epic, even though the game was free, Epic's only been around for, I don't know, like what, 3 months? It's like 3 months. It was like last fall. So it's only been around for a tiny bit of time comparatively to Windows Store. I've never tried this on Windows Store, and Windows Store doesn't have cross progression, so I'm not going to try it. But some things started happening here towards the end of our experiment here is a couple things. Is I talked way too much as a globe, and people started noticing that I wasn't actually a globe. I wasn't actually a council player. And this kind of bit me in the ass, where I was drawing attention to myself, because on the Epic Store, for some strange reason, you can only change your name once every 2 weeks. So that means you can't easily dodge people that are cheating if they're looking to know that you have a know that your username. Like let's say they have a lobby revealer, which are very extremely easy to come by. It's a public hack. That's a public cheat. That is you can find on forums. I'm not going to tell people how to cheat, but it is incredibly easy to find a killer revealer, lobby revealer online, and it is one of the most basic forms of cheating in this game because it will show you what killers are in the game. It'll show you their username, which then of course you can just open up with Steam if you're on the same platform. Which is also once again if you were on cross-platform, it's not going to show your Steam profile because you're cross-platform. So that's good. That very much works in my favor because they'll assume that I'm just a counsel once again. That doesn't work, however, if people start to know that you are a Globe PC player. And they start to figure out who you are, and they can do that once again because you can't change your username. And at the end here, last Thursday, we had an event towards the end of the stream. I didn't highlight it, but at the end, towards the end of the stream, where I got a disconnect from Epic, where basically I think either my game crashed. I think it was my game crashed, and then when I loaded back up, it said that I was playing from a different location. And my experiences when this happens on Steam is when you start getting put into cheater lobbies, which is definitely the case. Ever since last Thursday, most of our games have had cheaters in them, and I still continue to play on the Epic Store up until last night. And the reasoning for that was because basically I planned on having this event go for about, basically about 2 weeks to begin with, which was basically the amount of time in which I can't actually change my username. Now, and it was supposed to end in 2 days, and I ended it early because last night what I did was it felt as though people could get into my lobbies and they knew who I was. And on the Epic Store, you can't change your username. So what I tried to do last night was, because we were getting a boatload, basically every game last night had cheaters in it. And we played about 3 hours worth of Dead by Daylight, in which basically almost every single game had cheaters in it. Sometimes multiple cheaters per game too. And last night, what I did was I unlinked my Dead by Daylight account. And a couple things that happened, which I didn't look into before I did this, was one, you lose progression since you linked your account. You would think they would have a snapshot like every week or something like that. No. And when you unlink your account, you lose all progress you made on your account since the time of linking it. Luckily, it's only been a month for me. So what we lost was all my progress on Trickster. We lost all the progress. Well, we didn't really, because I ground up Plague a long time ago, we didn't really lose much of anything. Because this doesn't really... The funny thing about this is it does not change your rewards, and it does not change your level. I am still the same level as I was last night. Actually, maybe I'm not. But it will change your grade. It resets your grade basically to 0 as if you didn't play at all during the month. Let me check real quick here. I'm actually kind of curious. That's not it. Let me check real quick here. I'm actually kind of... Yeah. And then got stuck. Yeah, we ran into like some very... No, it did reset my account progress, so I lost 63 levels off of my account. Which is actually a pretty significant amount. That's like 20% of my levels. No, it's not. Yeah, it's like 15% of my levels right there. So we lost about 15% of my levels. I lost my progress because once again it reset me to basically January 1st. December 31st or something like that, January 1st, is when it reset me to. Pretty much every single one of our games we got last night, though, were cheater lobbies. Every single fucking one of them. And... I stopped playing on the Epic Store after it became clear we're still getting cheater lobbies on the Epic Store. I went instead and played on Steam instead of Epic Store. Yeah. And this is where I'm playing on Steam. As you can see here, we're getting a bunch of people that aren't Globes anymore. Once again, I'm very certain that you can just tell the game that... I'm going to highlight this too, and I'm going to add it to my highlights. You can pretty much tell the game that you're cross-platform when you're not. We had a ridiculous amount. Basically, it ended the game at this point because it felt like it was worse. When we first started playing on the Epic Store, it did not feel this way. At the end here, it felt like every single fucking game was a cheater lobby. Multiple cheater lobbies. And pretty obnoxious. We ended up basically 2-3K most of the night. Occasionally we get a 4K. Like this. This is still Epic Store, as you guys can see here, where I'm Globes, playing against Globes. Because they aren't Epic Store. Yep, lots of reports. Another 4 Globe, because once again, Epic Store. Anyways, at the end of last night's games, it felt as though we were playing against essentially cheaters in all of our games, so there was no reason to play on Epic Store anymore. The whole reason I tried playing on Epic Store was specifically to see what kind of games we would get, and how it would influence the games that we're getting. And it worked until people figured out who I was. Either not maybe my normal account, but they associated with the fact that this person's name, Doritos, which is probably people just like thought of Doritos, which is too close to Doritos. I fucked up on that one. Who I named my account after, like when they get in games with me, they just assume that I was the Nemesis camper guy or like cheater. Like they just know that who I am, and then they play accordingly. So oftentimes we wouldn't get rescue attempts. We get no pulls in which we couldn't pull off hooks at all, which is very, very popular in cheater lobbies. You'll never be able to pull people. They'll go for a full pull, and you still won't be able, like, it'll reject it. It doesn't matter. There's no way to get it. You can even preempt it. Like I preempted in Leary's yesterday, in which I pulled before they even put their hands up. It was perfectly timed. And then she still went to put her hands up and then got hit, even though she went into the pull animation, and she should have got pulled because the cheat just rejected my pull. You can't pull people that are cheating if they have no pull. It doesn't work. There's no way around it. It has nothing to do with desync. It's just it'll reject it no matter what. We had people in Leary's, for instance, that toggled on. I had one person call me a cheater because apparently you can't be a Globe and not be cross-platform, so they toggled on their cheats. And we had those 2 people. It ended up being a 2K in Leary's, in which we had 2 people that cheated. The first guy was extremely easy to hit, I guess because I whip drug. He thought that I was cheating, and therefore he toggled on. Pretty good stuff. Yeah. But anyways, at the end of the games last night, guys, it got to the point where it was pretty clear that people seemed to know who I was on my Epic account. And then I went back from my Epic account, I went to Steam, and I changed my username a couple different times. It didn't seem to do anything. We're still getting cheater lobbies. Went through about 2 or 3 games. So then what I did at the end of those 2 to 3 games was I unlinked my BHVR account, which is one of the things I said about a month ago, guys, was that it would be more than likely that that cheaters can figure out your cloud ID, and if you link your accounts together, people can figure out your cloud ID and associate them together. So it doesn't matter if you play on Epic, it doesn't matter if you play on Steam. So instead I unhooked my cloud account, my BHVR cloud account from Steam and from Epic in hopes, and it did change my cloud ID, by the way, in hopes that it would throw off cheaters. And we only got 1 game in yesterday before I basically called it quits because it was over 2 a.m. anyways. We only got 1 game in yesterday before 2 a.m. and it seemed kind of alright, but I don't know. The real kind of proof for that will be tonight once we start playing games and figure out whether or not we get the same lobbies as we did for the last couple days. But it definitely seemed like the last few days we definitely were getting a lot of cheater lobbies, and last night was literally every fucking game was just a cheater lobby, and that's not fun. As it turns out, that's not fun. So, unhooking my cloud account from BHVR regressed me basically to when I hooked it up, which was beginning of January, which means my killer grade reset, My levels went back to where they were before. It will undo DLC if you bought it too. The main takeaway though is like Plague was we lost some add-ons on Plague. That doesn't matter because we weren't going to play Plague. We already learned that Plague sucks against high MMR Swifts. So Plague's done. But Trickster now I have to regrind out because he's back. He basically regressed to the point that we don't have any add-ons for him now. So basically have to re-level all of Trickster's perks and get him back to where he was. So that's going to be a couple days of grinding, maybe more than that, to get him up to par. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. Also, we have to do the quest line for the envelopes as well, because that was undone, so we lost. It doesn't really matter, like, even though I lost, like, BP, it doesn't really undo the fact that I played during those months, or during the last month, excuse me. So it's not like I didn't play at all, even though it kind of feels that way, because I lost my levels and my progress. And not really, ooh, coup de grace. Not completely the way things worked out. But we have to regrind our envelopes tonight. See where that goes. We will be playing Trickster next, however. I had planned up playing them yesterday, and then I didn't completely look into things before I undid my account progress. I still would have done it probably anyways, because it would have been just like a band-aid to tear off to figure out whether or not it'll change my games or not. We'll see tonight. Yeah, the whole reason for playing on Epic is a way of avoiding cheating, and it seemed to have worked. It worked pretty fucking well. Up until last Thursday. Something happened last Thursday, someone figured something out, and then I was put on a list somewhere, and then we just got cheater lobbies basically the entire Thursday night, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And that's when I ended things, was last night, so. Tonight, guys, we will be going back into